The maintenance deck of the Defiance buzzed with an electric tension that had nothing to do with the ship's experimental power systems. Chief Engineer Marcus Rice watched the quantum capacitors pulse with an almost living rhythm, his dark eyes reflecting years of frustration and hope compressed into a single moment of potential. Humanity had become the galaxy's forgotten footnote, relegated to the outermost spiral of explored space, confined to marginal colonies and resource-poor systems. They were viewed as little more than galactic day laborers by the consortium, the vast interstellar alliance that controlled most of the known universe. Every other species had their specialties. The Vornak with their unmatched military technology, the Syndral with their genetic engineering, the Quantum Collective with their computational networks. Humans, they were considered generalists at best, incompetent novices at worst. But Marcus knew different. The Defiance was proof. Captain Elena Rodriguez entered the engineering deck, her movements precise and controlled. She wore the standard black and silver uniform of Earth's experimental fleet, but there was nothing standard about her. Scars traced her left cheek, remnants of a colonial defense that most would have called suicidal, but which she had somehow turned into a strategic victory. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of countless impossible missions. Marcus pulled up a holographic display that danced with impossible geometries. The quantum entanglement drive is at 89% stable configuration. We're pushing boundaries that make the consortium's top engineers look like children playing with circuit boards. The ship itself seemed to pulse around them. The Defiance wasn't just a vessel, it was a living experiment in human potential. Every system was adaptive, capable of learning and reconfiguring itself faster than any known artificial intelligence. Traditional ship designs followed rigid protocols. The Defiance improvised. Outside the massive viewport, the cold emptiness of the Meridian sector stretched endlessly. Nearby, a small human colony struggled to maintain a foothold, a single light of human determination against the vast darkness. Intelligence reports suggested the Vornak were preparing another pacification mission. Translation: they were coming to eliminate the colony, just as they had done to dozens of human settlements over the past decades. Rodriguez's fingers traced the edge of a tactical display. "They're coming," she said softly. It wasn't a prediction. It was a certainty. Dr. Aisha Nyong'o, the ship's lead quantum systems analyst, approached with a datapad filled with complex calculations. Her dark skin was illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic readouts. The adaptive resonance algorithms are beyond anything the consortium has ever seen. We're not just building a better ship, we're rewriting the fundamental language of interstellar warfare. Marcus chuckled, a sound both bitter and hopeful. If they'll let us. The political reality was brutal. Earth's representatives were constantly pushed to the margins of consortium negotiations. Human colonies were seen as expendable, their technological contributions dismissed or outright stolen. The Defiance represented humanity's final argument, a technological statement that would either secure their place in the galactic community or become their most spectacular failure. Rodriguez turned, her gaze sweeping the engineering deck. Every crew member knew what was at stake. This wasn't just a military mission. This was humanity's chance to prove its worth. "Prepare for potential engagement," she said, "and make sure every system is ready to do something the Vornak will never expect." As if in response, the Defiance hummed, a sound that was part machine, part something entirely new, something human. The quantum fold space twisted like a wound in reality, spitting out the Vornak battle group with calculated precision. Massive ships materialized, kilometers-long predators of steel and plasma, their hulls bristling with weapon systems that had reduced entire civilizations to cosmic dust. Lieutenant Sarah Kimura's fingers danced across the sensor array, her augmented neural interfaces crackling with information. "Multiple hostile contacts," she called out, her voice steady despite the storm brewing outside. "Vornak Decimation-class battleships, 12 primary vessels, 36 support craft. Targeting systems are lighting up the Meridian colony. Captain Rodriguez didn't move, didn't blink. Her entire being focused on the tactical hologram that hung in the center of the bridge, a three-dimensional nightmare of incoming destruction. The Vornak command channel crackled to life, a translation matrix converting their complex linguistic harmonics into something resembling human speech. Human settlement. The message rang out, cold and clinical. You have been deemed inefficient. Pacification protocol initiated. Surrender is advised. Marcus Reyes leaned towards Rodriguez, his voice a low whisper. They're not even offering terms this time. Just extermination. Something changed in the captain's eyes, a calculation beyond mere military strategy. This was about more than survival. This was about making a statement that would echo across the galaxy. Full combat alignment, Rodriguez commanded. The Defiance came alive. Nano-adaptive armor began to shift, its molecular structure reconfiguring faster than any known scanning technology could track. Shield generators flickered with geometries that violated known physics, fractal patterns that absorbed, redirected, and transformed incoming energy. The Vornak fleet opened fire. Plasma lances that could slice through reinforced planetary defenses streaked towards the Defiance *. Conventional wisdom suggested the human ship would be vaporized in milliseconds. Instead, something extraordinary happened. The first plasma lance struck, and was absorbed. Not deflected. Not blocked. Absorbed. Dr. Nyango's voice cut through the tension. Adaptive resonance is capturing energy signatures. We're learning their weapon harmonics in real time. The Defiance didn't just survive the first volley. It studied it. Rodriguez's attack was nothing like traditional naval warfare, where alien tacticians expected linear responses. She created chaos. The ship moved like no vessel in galactic history, sliding between enemy formations, using gravitational distortions, stellar radiation, and pure unpredictability as weapons. Quantum entanglement communication, she ordered. Full network synchronization. The ship's systems began to communicate faster than light, creating a combat network that was part artificial intelligence, part human intuition. Each system learned from the last, adapting millisecond by millisecond. Vornak commanders watched in growing horror as their tactical displays went haywire. Weapon predictions collapsed. Shield calculations became meaningless. The human ship didn't just resist, it was actively rewriting the rules of engagement. 37 minutes into the battle, the first Vornak battleship exploded. Then another. And another. The Defiance moved through the enemy fleet like a scalpel through tissue, its weapon systems now perfectly tuned to exploit every microscopic weakness in Vornak ship design. What should have been an extermination became a massacre, but not of humans. When the quantum fold sensors finally cleared, 60% of the Vornak battle group existed only as expanding debris fields. Lieutenant Kimura's voice broke the silence. Enemy fleet. Neutralized. Rodriguez allowed herself the briefest of smiles. Send a message, she said. To the consortium. To everyone. The message was simple, brutal in its simplicity. We are not your victims anymore. The consortium's primary communication hub erupted in a cacophony of disbelief and terror. Holographic displays flickered with the remnants of the Vornak battle group, a graveyard of technological superiority reduced to cosmic dust by a single human vessel. Ambassador Krulax of the Quantum Collective slammed his translucent appendages against the Diplomatic Council's central console. This is impossible, he hissed, his neural tendrils writhing with agitation. Humans are not capable of such technological sophistication. The circular chamber represented the most powerful political body in known space. 53 species, each with millennia of technological advancement, now stared at grainy combat footage that defied every known principle of interstellar warfare. Representative Zara Lind from Earth sat alone at the far end of the council chamber. She was used to being ignored, used to being spoken about as if she weren't present. Today was different. The Defiance was not an accident, she said, her voice cutting through the mounting chaos. It is a demonstration of human potential. The Syndral representative, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline exostructure, responded first. Potential for destruction, you mean? Your vessel has obliterated a significant portion of the Vornak military infrastructure. Lin's smile was razor-sharp. No. A demonstration that humanity will no longer be treated as a disposable species. Behind the diplomatic theater, true panic was spreading. Military strategists across the galaxy began reviewing every piece of data about human technology. What else had they missed? What other capabilities were hidden behind humanity's seemingly primitive exterior? On Earth, military command centers transformed overnight. The Defiance's battle recordings became a sacred text, analyzed frame by frame. Engineers worked in round-the-clock shifts, their fingers dancing across holographic interfaces as they sought to understand the ship's revolutionary systems. Captain Elena Rodriguez found herself at the center of a brewing storm. Official communiques demanded her immediate appearance before the Consortium Investigative Council. Unofficial channels buzzed with more dangerous intentions. The Vornak were not a species known for accepting defeat gracefully. "They're going to try to kill you," Marcus Reyes told her during a secure communication. The chief engineer's face was partially obscured by the encryption protocols, but his concern was evident. "Probably more than just you. They'll want to make an example." Rodriguez understood the stakes. This was more than a military engagement. This was a fundamental challenge to the galactic status quo. Dr. Aisha Nyong'o's research team was already dissecting every microsecond of combat data. The adaptive technologies demonstrated by the Defiance were beyond anything in current scientific understanding. Shield harmonics that could absorb and redistribute energy. Weapon systems that learned and evolved mid-combat. A communication network that functioned more like a living organism than a technological system. "We're not just looking at a new ship," Nyong'o told a packed conference of Earth's top scientists. "We're looking at a new paradigm of technological evolution." The consortium's communication networks became a tangled mess of diplomatic threats, scientific speculation, and raw fear. Some species called for immediate punitive action against humanity. Others wanted to study the Defiance more closely. A few, the more visionary members of the galactic community, recognized something profound was happening. Humanity was no longer just another species to be categorized and controlled. They were becoming something else entirely. In the cold silence of her quarters, Rodriguez reviewed the battle logs one more time. She understood what none of the diplomats or military strategists had yet realized. This was just the beginning. The research facility, buried deep beneath the Andes Mountains, looked like nothing special from the outside. A simple metallic complex that could have been mistaken for a communications relay station. Inside, however, humanity was rewriting the fundamental laws of technological development. Dr. Akira Chen stood before a holographic display that pulsed with impossible complexity. Captured Vornak technology lay dissected around her, each component a puzzle waiting to be solved. But Chen wasn't interested in copying alien technology. She wanted to understand it, then completely reinvent it. "Neural network translation is at 97% compatibility," she muttered, her fingers dancing across quantum-sensitive interfaces. But compatibility isn't innovation. The breakthrough came from an unexpected intersection of human disciplines. A team of neuroscientists, quantum physicists, and adaptive systems engineers had discovered something remarkable about human cognitive processes, where alien artificial intelligences followed strict, predictable protocols. Human neural networks thrived on chaos, creativity, and unexpected connections. Captain Rodriguez arrived, her presence cutting through the laboratory's electric tension. "Give me something I can use," she said, not as a request, but as a challenge. Chen smiled. The Defiance had become more than a ship. It was a template, a proof of concept that was about to change everything. "We're not just building better ships," she explained, bringing up a holographic model that shifted and changed with each breath. "We're creating living systems that think like humans. Unpredictable, adaptive, capable of learning from failure in ways no alien technology can comprehend." The new battleships rolling off production lines looked more like organic entities than traditional vessels. Each ship was unique, a technological organism that could reconfigure itself mid-mission, learning and adapting faster than any known artificial intelligence. Marcus Reyes had transformed the engineering approach completely. Traditional spacecraft design followed rigid protocols, specific functions, predetermined responses. The new human ships were different. They were more like living creatures, with systems that could reroute, rebuild, and reimagine themselves in real time. A demonstration played out on the primary research screen. A simulated ship encountered multiple combat scenarios, where alien vessels would follow predetermined tactical algorithms. This ship did something entirely different. It improvised. It learned. It changed. The consortium believes technology is about perfection, Chen explained. We understand it's about potential. Military analysts from around the world watched in a mixture of awe and terror. These weren't just improvements to existing technology. This was a fundamental reimagining of what technology could be. The quantum communication networks were the most revolutionary development. Traditional interstellar communication relied on fixed protocols and predetermined information transfer. The human system was alive, a network that could learn, adapt, and evolve with each transmission. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, no relation to the captain, but equally brilliant, had developed a communication protocol that was part technology, part living organism. Information isn't just transferred, she liked to say. It's negotiated. In orbital research stations, in underground facilities, in makeshift laboratories across human-controlled space, thousands of researchers worked with a singular purpose. They weren't just trying to catch up to alien technology. They were trying to leap beyond it entirely. The Defiance sat in a secure hangar, becoming less a ship and more a blueprint for humanity's future. Every system was being studied, every component analyzed. But the true breakthrough wasn't in the technology itself. It was in the fundamental human approach to innovation. Chaos, creativity, endless potential. The consortium had no idea what was coming. The void between star systems trembled as the consortium assembled its most massive battle fleet in recorded history. Thousands of ships stretched across multiple light-years, a metallic constellation of technological might assembled with the singular purpose of crushing humanity's emerging threat. Grand Strategist Vorlik of the Vornak Command stood on the bridge of the flagship Annihilation's Breath, his biomechanical eyes scanning tactical displays that pulsed with cold, calculated fury. The human victory at the Meridian sector was an aberration, a statistical impossibility that would soon be corrected. Total extermination, he commanded, his voice a complex harmonic that translated into a dozen different linguistic protocols. Leave no human settlement intact. The invasion plan was brutal in its simplicity. Multiple attack vectors targeting every known human colony, research station, and outpost. No warnings, no negotiations. Pure, systematic elimination. Captain Elena Rodriguez received the first intelligence reports as the consortium fleet began its approach. The numbers were staggering. Over 10,000 capital ships, supported by countless support vessels and autonomous combat drones. It was more than an attack. It was a statement of total dominance. They're going to try to overwhelm us with pure numerical superiority, Marcus Reyes observed, analyzing the incoming data. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces, tracing potential defensive strategies. Classic consortium doctrine. Throw enough firepower, and something will break. But the humans had been preparing. Each new battleship was a direct descendant of the Defiance *, adaptive, learning, capable of reconfiguring themselves mid-battle in ways that defied traditional combat logic. Where alien tacticians expected linear responses, human ships created chaos. Dr. Aisha Nyong'o's quantum communication network came alive. Adaptive resonance protocols at maximum, she reported. We're not just defending. We're going to turn their attack into our greatest opportunity. The first wave of consortium ships hit human defensive lines like a tsunami of technological fury. And then something extraordinary happened. Human ships didn't just resist. They learned. Each plasma lance, each quantum torpedo, each specialized weapon became a lesson. Shield harmonics shifted. Weapon systems recalibrated. Entire fleet formations transformed with a speed and complexity that left alien tactical systems in complete disarray. Vorlek watched in growing horror as his meticulously planned invasion began to collapse. Entire battle groups found themselves fighting not just against human ships, but against a living, thinking network that adapted faster than any known computational system. Impossible, he muttered, though the evidence was directly in front of him. The battle became less a traditional conflict and more a dynamic, evolving system. Human ships used stellar radiation, gravitational wells, and pure unpredictability as weapons. They were not just resisting, they were rewriting the fundamental rules of space combat. 50 years of consortium military doctrine collapsed in hours. When the quantum fold sensors finally cleared, the invasion fleet had been reduced to expanding debris fields, not through overwhelming firepower, but through a level of adaptive strategy that seemed to break the laws of probability. Captain Rodriguez watched the final tactical reports compile. This wasn't just a victory. This was a fundamental redefinition of warfare. "Send a message," she said quietly. The transmission was simple, elegant in its brutality. "We are not your prey." In the cold mathematics of the universe, humanity had discovered something more powerful than weapons. They had found the algorithm of hope. The Centauri Corridor was supposed to be humanity's final stand, a narrow strip of space where the last remnants of human resistance would be crushed forever. Instead, it became the moment that would redefine galactic warfare for millennia to come. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now the flagship of a fleet that defied every known principle of military strategy. 50 ships, 300 enemy vessels. The mathematics seemed impossible. Quantum resonance network at full capacity. Lieutenant Sarah Kimura reported, her neural interfaces crackling with a web of information that spread faster than light itself. "We're not just communicating. We're thinking as one." The consortium fleet approached with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Their tactical systems were works of technological perfection, complex algorithms that had eliminated countless civilizations. They expected another routine pacification. They were wrong. The human ships moved like nothing in galactic history, not as individual vessels, but as a single living organism. Each ship learned from the others, adapting microsecond by microsecond. Where alien tacticians expected linear responses, the human fleet created pure, beautiful chaos. Dr. Aisha Nyong'o's uncertainty principle of warfare became reality. Traditional combat relied on predictability, known weapon systems, standard defensive protocols, calculated risk assessments. The human fleet operated on something entirely different: pure, unbridled potential. A Vornak battlecruiser launched a quantum torpedo, a weapon that had obliterated entire planetary defense systems. The human ships didn't just dodge. They absorbed the energy, redistributed it, and used the weapon's own momentum against the attacking fleet. Marcus Reyes watched from the secondary command center, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "It's not about having the best technology," he muttered. "It's about being willing to do something completely unexpected." The battle became a living, breathing entity. Weapon systems that would take alien engineers decades to understand were created, used, and discarded in moments. Shield harmonics shifted in patterns that violated every known law of physics. The human fleet didn't just fight. They'd reimagined combat in real time. Consortium tactical systems began to collapse. These were not just ships. They were living networks of human creativity, each vessel a node in a massive, adaptive intelligence that learned faster than any artificial system could process. Vorlek, the consortium's grand strategist, watched in mounting horror. 50 ships reduced 300 to expanding debris fields. Not through overwhelming firepower, but through a level of strategic innovation that seemed to break the fundamental laws of probability. How? He demanded of his tactical officers. How is this possible? The answer was simple and terrifying. Humans didn't follow rules. They rewrote them. When the quantum fold sensors finally cleared, the result was beyond comprehension. 50 human ships had eliminated an entire consortium battle group without losing a single vessel. More than that, they had done so with a level of efficiency and creativity that rendered traditional military doctrine obsolete. Admiral Rodriguez allowed herself the briefest of smiles. This wasn't just a victory. This was a declaration. Humanity was no longer a footnote in galactic history. They were writing the next chapter. The transmission went out across every communication network in known space. Simple, brutal in its simplicity. We are not your victims. In the cold mathematics of the universe, humanity had discovered something more powerful than weapons. They had found the algorithm of hope. The consortium diplomatic station hung in space like a massive crystalline sculpture, its impossible geometry a testament to millennia of interstellar political maneuvering. Inside, the most powerful representatives of known space waited with a tension that could slice through starship hulls. Ambassador Zara Lind from Earth stood alone, as always, at the far end of the circular negotiation chamber. She wore a simple black uniform that spoke more of functionality than ceremony, a stark contrast to the elaborate biomechanical attire of the other delegates. Humanity proposes a radical approach, she began, her voice cutting through the multilayered translation systems that filled the chamber. The Vornak representative, Grand Strategist Vorlik, barely recovered from the devastating losses at the Centauri corridor, shifted uncomfortably. His biomechanical exoskeleton rippled with barely contained rage and fear. "Propose," he hissed. "You have destroyed entire battle groups, decimated our most advanced military assets, and you wish to propose." Lin's smile was razor-sharp. "Exactly." The holographic displays flickered to life, showing not images of destruction, but of potential. Detailed schematics of technological exchanges, collaborative research proposals, and unprecedented cooperation frameworks materialized around the chamber. This was not a surrender. This was something far more dangerous. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood as the silent backdrop to Lin's diplomatic assault. Where Lin used words, Rodriguez represented the unspoken threat, the technological might that could reduce the entire consortium to cosmic dust if negotiations failed. "We're not asking for reparations," Lin continued. "We're offering a partnership that will revolutionize galactic development." The Syndral representative, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline exostructure, spoke next. "Your proposal defies every known diplomatic protocol. Why would we accept anything from a species we were preparing to exterminate?" The answer came not from Lin, but from the data streams flowing through the diplomatic chamber. Technological innovations, scientific breakthroughs, adaptive systems that could solve problems that had plagued the consortium for centuries. Humanity wasn't just offering peace. They were offering a complete reimagining of technological and social development. Dr. Aisha Nyong'o had prepared extensive documentation demonstrating how human cognitive approaches could solve seemingly impossible challenges. Adaptive learning systems, quantum communication networks, technologies that didn't just improve existing frameworks but completely rewrote them. "Consider this," Lin said, bringing up a series of scientific and technological projections. "What if the greatest threat to the galaxy isn't humanity, but the stagnation that comes from believing you've reached the pinnacle of development?" The chamber fell silent. Vorlek's neural interfaces burned with conflicting data. Military advisors screamed for continued conflict. Scientific analysis suggested something entirely different, that humanity represented not a threat, but the most significant evolutionary leap in galactic civilization in millennia. Rodriguez understood the true nature of the negotiation. This wasn't about military might. This was about potential. "We're not asking to join your consortium," she said quietly, her voice somehow filling the entire chamber. "We're offering to help you reimagine what's possible." The diplomatic session stretched into hours, then days. The proposals were radical, unprecedented, a complete dismantling of existing power structures in favor of something entirely new. When the initial agreements were finally drafted, they represented more than a peace treaty. They were a new blueprint for galactic civilization. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had invited it to evolve. 5 years had passed since the negotiations that reshaped galactic civilization. The Defiance now sat in orbit above Earth, transformed from a weapon of war to a living museum, a testament to humanity's greatest leap. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck, watching a mixed crew prepare for a deep space exploration mission. Humans worked alongside Vornak engineers, Syndral quantum specialists, and quantum collective communication experts. What once would have been impossible was now routine. Dr. Marcus Rice approached, his aging body enhanced by the same adaptive technologies that had revolutionized human spacecraft. "Hard to believe how much has changed," he said, his eyes tracking the intricate dance of the preparation. The ship represented more than a vessel. It was a symbol of a new way of thinking. Collaborative research stations now dotted the galaxy. Where previous civilizations had hoarded knowledge, humanity had introduced a radical concept of open-source technological development. Every breakthrough became a shared resource, every challenge an opportunity for collective problem-solving. Dr. Aisha Nyong'o's adaptive learning protocols have become the standard for technological development across multiple species. What humans had discovered, that true innovation comes from embracing uncertainty, from being willing to completely reimagine existing systems, had transformed scientific approach galaxy-wide. The young captain preparing the exploration vessel embodied this new paradigm. Lieutenant Kai Chen was a product of the new galactic order, half human, half Vornak, raised in a collaborative research colony. Her neural interfaces seamlessly integrated technologies from multiple species, her thinking as fluid as the space around her. "We're not just exploring space," she told her mixed crew during the pre-mission briefing. "We're exploring potential." The consortium, now transformed into something entirely different, had become less a political body and more a collaborative network. The rigid hierarchies that had defined galactic civilization for millennia had been dismantled, replaced by a more dynamic, adaptive approach to development. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been its technology. It was the ability to see beyond existing limitations. Rodriguez remembered the early days of the conflict, the desperate moments when humanity seemed on the brink of extinction. Now, they were at the forefront of galactic innovation, not through conquest, but through a fundamental reimagining of what was possible. The mixed crew began their pre-flight checks. A Syndral energy specialist worked alongside a human quantum engineer. A Vornak navigation expert collaborated with a human adaptive systems analyst. Each brought unique perspectives. Each understood that the true value was in the collaboration itself. "Sometimes I wonder if they truly understand what we did," Marcus said quietly, watching the crew. Rodriguez knew exactly what he meant. This wasn't just a technological transformation. This was an evolutionary leap. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had invited it to evolve. The exploration vessel's engines hummed to life, a sound that was part machine, part living system. It moved with a grace and potential that would have been unimaginable just a few years earlier. As it disappeared into the quantum-fold space, Rodriguez allowed herself a smile. The universe was no longer something to be conquered. It was something to be understood, something to be explored, something to be reimagined.